I asked Matt a question and immediately told him to be quiet. We're coming back. Sorry about that, Matt. Wasn't trying to be rude. We welcome in our good buddy over at ABC 10 and, of course, host of the Locked On Kings podcast, our man, Matt George. Matt, what's happening, man?
I'm down bad today, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm down bad. I had my heart broken yesterday. You have people in your life that like you put on a pedestal, right? And you appreciate and you love for all the great things that they bring you, all the joy that they bring to your life. But then every once in a while they'll do things and say things that just, shatter the foundation out from underneath you. And our own Monty McNair shared on social media as part of his little Q&A yesterday that not only has he not seen The Lord of the Rings, he tried to watch The Fellowship once and he fell asleep during it, and that was it. And I don't think I can recover.
Never have I ever related more to Monty McNair than that single tweet right there.
See, why are you being hurtful? Now you're being hurtful.
And I'll give Monty credit. I didn't even give myself a chance to watch it. I just saw the trailer and was like, I'm cool.
Yeah, I already know. It's just never gonna happen for me, dog. I'm just never.
Lord of the Rings.
It ain't never gonna happen for me.
Star Wars.
Why am I here? Like, what is the point? Why am I here? Like,
are you a big Harry Potter person?
No, I like Harry Potter, but no, Lord of the Rings is like that specialty thing for me.
Are you allowed to like both, or is that like, you don't do that? It's either Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter. You can't do both.
Oh, I don't care about rules, but I'll laugh at anybody who tries to compare Tolkien to J.K. Rowling or any author like that who tries to compare their writing style, or like George R.R. Martin with Game of Thrones or something. Please, not even on Tolkien's level. That's where I draw the line a little bit there. But no, I like it all.
Draw the line.
Why are you laughing at me? This is serious. I'm serious now. I had my heart broken yesterday by the man that I am called a shill for every afternoon.
No,
he did that to me.
Who's a big Harry Potter fan is Brooke, my cousin Brooke.
Okay.
She knows everything.
That's another one. There's just something about that sci-fi. Like you just mentioned
sci-fi
or whatever it is. Like, I don't know what isn't it a magic thing? Like,
it's fantasy. It's a fantasy world. Sci-fi, science fiction. It's not space, D-Lo. Jesus.
Might as well be. Like, I hold the same level of interest for it as I would something in space.
Well, you got to come over.
No, we're not. Oh no.
You're going to get.
Did he
kicked out. He kicked out. He kicked out right at 5.
Did
he kicked out. No title change. He kicked out right at 5. We almost had the first ever Matt George freeze.
How much, brother? How much?
I'm okay.
Wow. Would have been the ABC 10 screw job right there if we had counted him out.
The internet was trying to do you a favor, but I'm not going to let it. You two come over. We'll invite Monty McNair. We'll probably get a whole group coming over, and we'll dedicate 20 hours, and we'll watch the extended editions of all 3 trilogies.
Extended editions?
20 hours?
I thought we were going to play like Raw GM or something.
No, we're going to do that too. It's just separate. We can hang out more than once, D-Lo.
Oh.
That might be your quota for the year, but we can hang out more than once.
Now, are they done with Lord of the Rings? Is nothing else?
Well, they have a Ring of Power. This is great off-season talk, by the way, and I love it. They have the Ring of Power series on Amazon, which a lot of like real Lord of the Rings fans, like true Lord of the Rings fans, aren't happy with it. I thought it was fine. I enjoy it for what it is. That's the new stuff that they have going on. If they ever rebooted Lord of the Rings, though, they'd be idiots because those films are masterpieces. So, no, they ain't going to do that.
I love that Matt says this is great off-season talk, as if he's never heard this show before.
Oh no, I've heard the show many times. I'm just thinking, like, I know corners of the culture need sometimes a little Lord of the Rings culture addition to it. Like, come on,
you've got the wrong culture, buddy.
Come on, think about it.
You've got the wrong culture.
Let me take you to the corner of Middle Earth. Let me tell you a little bit about Mordor. All right, let's talk about Mount Doom a little bit.
Do the Game of Thrones podcast too.
Yeah. No, there's no comparison. Game of Thrones.
Well, you brought up Game of Thrones just a minute ago, not me.
But you just said it. It has nothing to do with it. We're talking Lord of the Rings here. Game of Thrones ain't on that level.
Well, it's crazy that you say that because a lot of people are like, "Yo, Game of Thrones is the one."
No,
you're
it's
like,
not.
It's not on our level.
No, No, it's not on. I mean, it's not on Tolkien's level. It's not on Lord of the Rings level. And the TV show sure did a damn terrible job of learning how to land a plane after you've built this story empire and you have that crappy ending that you put out there.
Damn.
I feel like a lot of TV shows don't know how to end their show.
I think you said it best. You create a show for like 2 seasons, and then we're like, oh, made a lot of money, keep it going.
You don't know what to do.
Yeah, it wasn't built for that.
Mm-hmm.
It was made for like 2-3 seasons.
I don't know that there'll ever be a bigger, greater like waste of television time than Lost.
Never tried.
And don't bother, because you'll just be left at the end of it going, what the hell was that? This is the stupidest ending I've ever. The Sopranos black ending was better than whatever that crap Lost put out. I still don't know what the hell happened.
All right, and they were supposed to tell you like how they got back.
You would think the final episode ties the whole series together. It didn't. It was just like, hey, the series is ending. Yo, let's get this joint over with. And that's what they did. They just got it over with. I have no clue what happened.
Can you give me admin rights really quick? I got some people to block in the chatty house right now. There's a lot of blasphemy going on in the chatty house right now.
Well, let's bring you home. Let's bring you to let's throw a topic at you that makes you happy.
Lord of the Rings makes me very happy.
Well, I don't. Okay.
Can you ask a Lord of the Rings question?
Let's find something that the chatty house will respond better to that will help perk you up a little bit.
All right.
And that's Keegan Murray.
Hey,
look at that.
He's the Lord of the Rings of NBA players. Keegan Murray right there.
All right. I'm just going to trust you on that. But I know he is part of the U.S. select team. And we had been wondering, like, hey, seems like Keegan Murray should be a part of Team USA basketball. And that invite went out to him. At least that was made public today. He'll get the opportunity to practice with the FIBA World Cup team. He'll get an opportunity to practice against the FIBA World Cup team. And then we talked about how there's, potential guys who could travel to be replacements, the whole deal. But what do you think about Keegan's involvement now with USA basketball?
I think it's extremely well-deserved. I think that's a class of players and a tier of players that he deserves to be under consideration for, although all the names that were listed in that I think we got to start talking about at some point Keegan being the best of the list of names that Shams put out initially in that tweet. His main competition there is Cade Cunningham, but I'd take Keegan over a lot of those guys. But Keegan is the tier of player that he is. Like that, he is a star. He is a young rising star, and deserves to be in that position, in that limelight. Now, I'm always a little hesitant with. I want them to get the recognition. I don't necessarily want them to suit up and play and risk potentially hurting themselves or doing something that could detriment what they'll do for the Sacramento Kings. But that's more of a selfish perspective than anything else. Keegan deserves to be in that spot. I think it's really cool that he's getting that recognition. He gets to work with those guys because the select team works with the main roster in their training camp and everything like that, and can be on call for the World Cup, the FIBA World Cup, and everything. So I think it's great for Keegan, fired up for him, and I'm glad that the labeled safe pick with the low ceiling is where he belongs amongst the Chet Holmgrens and Jalen Greens and Cade Cunninghams that were labeled these absolute superstars out of college without even touching the NBA yet.
If I was like really petty, just mean-spirited, which I'm not, so I'm not going to do this, I would say, Jaden Ivey on there. I ain't going to do that. I like Jaden Ivey. I want him to succeed. But we all know that went down.
There might be a tweet like that in my drafts that I talked myself out of sending this morning. Not going to lie to you.
Jaden Ivey, I still believe in him as a player. I think he's going to be good. He's just not on this team right now.
Also, I will say, Jaden Ivey, super nice dude. We got the opportunity to chat with him a little bit before the Rising Stars game in Salt Lake City at All-Star Weekend, and he answered a couple questions about Keegan and talked a little bit about the beam and the Kings crowd. So Jaden Ivey's a great guy.
He's going to be successful in this league for sure.
Did you tell him you hated him?
I told him he needs to get out of Detroit. He's like, yeah.
Well,
not really, but
maybe money will be good for him.
It's good to be on that side of things now. Remember, people like, you need to get out of Sacramento. Now us in Sacramento are telling people they need to get out.
I have no recollection of that. My only recollection is great Kings basketball. We were just looking at the attendance from this year and how it just got better and better. That's all I know.
That's all we know.
That's all I know.
Now, real quick about the select team. I meant to tell you this earlier when we were talking about it. Did you guys see that clip of from like Paul George podcast when he talks about his time on the select team? And it was like him, Kyrie, some other people. And he was like, we was going up against Kobe, Bron, all these other guys. He's like, dog, we could not get the ball over half court. Like they were playing such crazy defense on us. We could not get the ball past half court. It's the same scrimmage where Kyrie dribbles through everybody. You remember
Yeah.
that?
Yep.
And he brings up, he's like, you know that clip where Kyrie's just dribbling through everybody? And it's like, yeah, that was so dope. He's like, at some point, Kyrie was like, I'm just going to try this because we can't get the ball past half court. That's how that happened.
Mm-hmm.
But he talked about how that was such a great experience for him and those guys, building their confidence, seeing how those guys on the highest level, the Kobe's, the Brons, D Wades, how they prepare themselves and being in that whole environment. And I'm hoping that's kind of what happens with Keegan here. Like, the thing is, I don't know if, at least in this particular World Cup group, there's not really that Kobe guy. Like, it might be more beneficial if he's on there next year when he could see Steph and, you know, if Bron plays or some other guys like that. Right now, these guys are kind of close to
like
being
his peers. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we already seen in an off season how much Keegan has grown and benefited and blossomed from the time that he's put in with De'Aaron Fox. And he said he's been working with Fox every single day. And we saw elements of that already, like the fruits of that labor already coming through in the California Classic. And I expect that to continue going into training camp and the start of the regular season next year. So, I mean, you put him in an environment with, even if it is his peers, the greatest at his age level, the greatest at his range, the guys that you want him competing with and arguably being better than right now, whether he's on the main roster or the select roster, doesn't matter. He's in that environment. He's only going to get better and absorb all that like he's shown already throughout his career. So, I mean, there's no negative to him being in that situation, and it's not gifted to him. He earned it. He's 100% earned it.
We didn't acknowledge this when it happened, but it didn't escape me. We talked to Anthony Slater earlier at The Athletic, and he's the first person to mention the contracts that the Kings have and how they're set up for when it's time to pay Keegan Murray.
Oh, yeah.
Keegan Murray can be paid. It happens with all great Kings rookies. It's a rite of passage. And Keegan Murray's rite of passage has arrived in his first full offseason. We're starting to plan for his money.
That's what you do, man. When you know you have a superstar, you got to get ready to pay him. No, it's the right thing. Like I didn't realize either. Like, and I talked about this on yesterday's podcast. Like, the entire Kings starting five is at minimum under contract for the next 3 years. Like, Sabonis has the longest contract, but Fox has 3 years left on his deal. Herter has 3 years left. Harrison just now has 3 years left on his deal. And then if you include Keegan's like team options, which of course they're going to exercise and everything if they don't extend him before that, Keegan's under contract for the next 3+ years. So this entire starting five, like, that's what Monty has built. And he talked about it a lot in that article with Slater and Sam Amick. Is like, he's not just thinking right now. He's not just thinking today. He's thinking 2, 3, 4 years down the road. And if this team, I'm not saying this team as constructed right now is a championship team, but if this group is competing for a championship right now or can get to a position where they're a championship contender, you have a 3-year minimum window with this group together. And that doesn't include any contract extensions that you sign or any moves that you make going forward, where maybe you traded Kevin Herter or Harrison Barnes down the line if you have to get that one missing piece to actually win a championship. Like, Monty has set this team up for long-term success immediately this offseason. And I think sometimes that gets brushed under the rug a little bit.
Nah, I mean, it doesn't get brushed under the rug by me. I mean, it's what he has been able to do with these contracts, what he's been able to do with kind of staggering the money or whatever. Also, James Ham brings up a great point when he talks about another benefit of being able to do the Sabonis thing this offseason is it, and you're having everybody else locked up, is it allows you to focus pretty much solely on Malik Monk.
Yes.
And making sure you get him the money that he's looking for and you keep him in the fold. And it's exciting times when you have, like you mentioned, 5, 6, 7, this core. These guys are here. Like, you don't have to worry about turnover. You don't have to worry about contract dispute and everything. Like, for the foreseeable future, this is the team. These guys can grow together. They can get even more chemistry out there on the floor playing with each other on a nightly basis and a yearly basis at this point. It's pretty exciting.
I'm calling my shot now. I think Malik Monk is going to be I haven't looked at next year's free agency class, so I don't know what big names are available, but I think Malik Monk is going to be one of the hottest commodities in free agency next offseason that the Sacramento
Hey, that's too damn bad. He ain't going nowhere.
No,
sit your asses down.
I agree with you, but like the way I associate, like to put it into like current terms, the way that I feel a lot of fan bases and a lot of teams around the league view Josh Hart is the same way I feel like they're going to view Malik Monk when we go into next offseason. And Josh Hart did the right thing for him, and the New York Knicks did the absolute right thing by bringing him back. They would have been stupid not to, and hopefully it's the same thing for the Sacramento Kings a year from now. But Josh Hart was one of those players, especially with how good of a playoffs that he had with New York. It's like, okay, almost every team is interested in a player like that. They might not be able to afford him, or they might not be able to put together a competitive enough offer to get him to leave the Knicks behind. But I think there are going to be teams that are going to be looking at Malik Monk and going, whether it's as a starter or a sixth man, we could really use that on our roster, because he's opened up his game. And even Malik said it earlier on this season, or early last season. He said, like, he is under Mike Brown, and in Mike Brown's new system, he's allowed to play like himself. He's allowed to be himself. And that's allowed him to express himself more with his passing ability and his playmaking, which is something that he started to express a little bit in Los Angeles, and something that was completely under wraps in Charlotte because he was labeled just a shooter coming out of the draft. So, like, I think Malik is obviously a perfect fit for what he's doing here in his role as a sixth man. And there are going to be a lot of teams that can envision what he can bring them next offseason. So, you're right. It's too damn bad because the Kings are going to be smart and going to bring him back. It's a problem for another day, but he's going to have suitors for sure.
Yeah, well, rest of the NBA, you can go to hell.
Straight to hell. Malik, they gonna bring Malik into the Golden One Center during negotiations with his jersey up there, like a big tribute video airing on the Golden One Center screen. Well, I would say they'll, like the Clippers did Blake Griffin, but it's just going to be a better result. Just a better result.
I just have this scenario playing in my head where it's a little less than a year from now, right? And I'm sitting there. It's a hopefully cool June evening, and I get the Twitter notification that D'Lo and KC is breaking Malik Monk returning to the Sacramento Kings on a new contract. Go full circle, baby.
We ain't break no news this year.
No. Well,
I mean, not really. Not really.
It's still in the mix, though.
I mean, we knew.
Yeah.
We just didn't get. We didn't get the big tweet. We wanted the Harrison Barnes tweet. We didn't get it.
Yeah, but cool damn eyeball.
Woj outworked us.
Cool it with the damn eyeball emojis and cryptic nonsense, and The Rock is coming in nonsense. Stop it. Stop it. Get my heart rate up. You start me asking questions. Then I got to text you and look desperate. Stop it.
I ain't even do nothing.
You did all of it.
We're just tweeting.
I'm just tweeting.
You know what I'm saying? We just tweeting.
Little tweet here, little tweet there. That's all.
No, you don't leave that stuff up to interpretations for people like me with the brain that can go any direction.
So far, only one person's read between the lines.
I've seen two.
Two?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen the other one.
A couple Colombos out there.
Rich is the only one who I know that caught it. No, he's the only one who caught it. They aren't in my mention, so I didn't see it.
What give us your best guess here, Matt?
Oh, I might have pestered one of these the hosts on my screen enough to tell me a little bit. I was left on red for a little bit, but eventually I got the information that I wanted.
What am I going to tell Matt here? I told Matt what I was just tweeting. That's all I do. I just be tweeting. What do you think about Nerlens Noel? I feel like we've talked about him before. He is, in fact, a member of the Sacramento Kings now.
Nerlens Noel is a player over the course of almost his entire career, because he's been such a journeyman. I think the Kings are his sixth team or something like that. Like, he's bounced around. And over the course of his career, Nerlens Noel is one of those players that I've wanted on the Sacramento Kings because I know exactly what he brings, and I love shot blocking, which is hilarious because Mike Brown is not into shot blocking. Like, he thinks shot blocking is like an overhyped stat. He doesn't say that shot blocking isn't important, but he says, like, shot blocks versus changing shots and disrupting like attacking the paint. That much of rim protection is just changing shots and turning players away who are trying to attack the basket versus actually physically rejecting a shot. So But Nerlens Noel is that guy that he's that volleyball player type rim protector, or at least he was labeled that coming into the league. Now, he's never really lived up to that. And the reality is Nerlens Noel is someone who is going to get playing time behind Sabonis, behind Lyles, behind Alex Len, in my opinion. So I'm not expecting a whole lot from Nerlens, but what I like about it is at least I think I know exactly what Nerlens Noel is going to give you no matter how many minutes you play him, which is rebounding and rim protection. And if you need that for a 5-minute stint because the Kings are getting obliterated in the like, I think back to, speaking of the New York Knicks, like remember the Knicks game, right? When the Kings won on national television, but Mike Brown was furious because the Kings were getting abused on the offensive glass. Hell, it happened multiple times in the playoffs. You have a 5-minute stretch where nobody's grabbing a rebound. Nerlens, get in there and just get me some boards and let's get back on track a little bit here. Or, man, we're getting killed in the paint tonight. Nerlens, give me 5 minutes here and just protect the paint a little bit while Domas gets a breather. Like, I look at him like as a specialist or like a utility player, if we're using like a baseball term, or like a bullpen guy. That's how I look at it. I know what I'm getting from Nerlens Noel. Offensively, I have no idea how it works unless you're running pick and rolls exclusively and then leaving him on an island in the corner. But I know what I'm getting rebounding and shot blocking, which is why I'm happy the Kings made the move.
So this is the question that I'm asking everybody, their thoughts on with Nerlens Noel coming to the team. Does that mean we've seen the end of Neemias Queta with the big club?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's not over and done with yet. And if, like, I wouldn't be shocked at all if he has a training camp invite. But I don't know if it was the injuries that hurt him. What is the point of having 4 centers essentially on your main roster? And then, like we talked about last week, Kenny, what is the point of giving Neemias Queta a 2-way contract for the 3rd straight year? Like, what is he going to do differently? Now, if you want to just keep him in your organization, but don't want to use a roster spot to do it, you think he's so close, but still not quite there, then it makes it easier. You have a 3rd 2-way spot, so maybe you can talk yourself into doing that, and I wouldn't hate that possibility. But if I'm Queta, I'm going, what am I accomplishing here? What's the point for me? So I think Queta's time in Sacramento is done, but I'm in no way saying, hey, get him out of here. He's not needed anymore. Like, I still think if Queta's got still the upside and the Kings still think there's potential there, use that 2-way spot. If you're not going to give it to Jordan Ford, use it. But I feel like the writing's on the wall. I think Queta's on his way out.
Yeah, you don't feel like that's what he wants. Like, I'm sure he wants a regular. I know James, but he might be an overseas guy at this point. Because of what you just mentioned and what you guys talked about on the podcast. Like, what's Neemias going to do in the G League this year that's going to get anyone's attention? Like, it should have already worked, and clearly there's something that they're not feeling. Unless we're just off base a little bit, and they're way off on Neemias Queta. He'll be at training camp, like he'll have an opportunity to do something. I just don't. That Nerlens Noel sank my Queta hope. Or my quota hope, as Isaiah Thomas would say.
Quota. I love that quota.
I see a lot of comments like this in the comment section from Brian. Brian saying choosing Nerlens Noel over Neemias Queta would be a major mistake. From a developmental standpoint, maybe, sure. But Nerlens Noel, even if he's been a journeyman and he's bounced around and hasn't had the most prolific career, especially with the hype that was surrounding him when the Philadelphia 76ers first drafted him, like, he has 2 NBA caliber skills that you can use to some extent. I know Neemias Queta has the size to be able to rebound and shot block, and he's able to do that at the G League level. But can he do that at the NBA level? If the answer was absolutely yes, there'd be no reason to choose Noel over Queta. There wouldn't be, because Queta has better offensive upside and is younger. If the answer is absolutely Neemias Queta can give me exactly what, if not more, of what Nerlens Noel can give me, then I'm choosing Queta every single time, and so are the Sacramento Kings. But clearly, by making this move, by bringing in Noel, one can assume or connect the dots and say that Noel provides something that Monte McNair feels is more reliable, or Mike Brown feels is more reliable than what Queta can provide at the NBA level.
Yeah, man, and it's really what it comes down to. I know James Ham was talking about it the other day, and people in the chat, and I understand and I agree. It's not a whole lot of time to experiment if you're trying to get where you're trying to get, and I had come up with a suggestion of, give Queta, 20, 25 games to see what he looks like. If it works, then you got something. If it doesn't, you can always go to Noel and Alex Lynn. But like people pointed out, I mean, that's what you do when you're an experimenting team. There's no time to experiment. Kings are trying to be a NBA Finals team. They're trying to get out the gates fast. They're trying to make sure that they're in the mix for a certain seeding and stuff like that. You don't have time to waste around. If you have this guy in summer league and you didn't like what you saw enough to keep him around by himself without signing new guys, then yeah, you probably have your answer right there of should you be playing him or not.
I spot on. I think you're 100% spot on.
Matt, what's the worst move the Kings made this offseason?
Yeah, I talked about this on yesterday's Locked On Kings podcast. It was hard for me to find a worst move or a negative move because I'm a shill. And I only wear purple glasses, and nothing except for not watching The Lord of the Rings is bad that Monty does. But the thing that genuinely I could come up with is letting Terrence Davis walk. And the reason why I get why the Kings are going in the Chris Duarte direction. I do. For the defensive upside, for like, I think it makes sense. And I'm assuming that Duarte is the Terrence Davis replacement. I thought that Terrence Davis responded extremely well to Mike Brown's coaching. Extremely well. I was really impressed by their relationship. I could tell there was a genuine connection between the two of them, even if it looked like Terrence Davis drove Mike Brown crazy at times. Terrence responded to getting chewed out during games, chewed out after games, spoken about publicly to the media. Every time, like what I really admired about Terrence Davis this year, in addition to the great interview that he did with you guys, every time Terrence Davis sat at the podium, he talked about himself, what he did wrong. He took the podium after the Brooklyn Nets game when he was the star on national television. And it was, man, I missed this defensive assignment, or I need to do this better. Like Terrence really responded well to Mike Brown's coaching and Mike Brown's culture. And I think he even talked about at the end of the season, like with how much they were holding De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis accountable, like it was easier for him to be held accountable seeing that too. So I think the environment was really, really good for TD. Plus, offensively, while he is inconsistent with the numbers that he's going to give you, I know that Terrence Davis can work in the Sacramento Kings system offensively, and he's a firecracker who's capable of going off for 30 on any given night if he gets the chance. The questions are on defense. So if you feel that Duarte or the other upgrades that you made this offseason really put you over the edge defensively without sacrificing too much or anything offensively, then I understand why the Kings made that move. I think Terrence Davis is absolutely going to end up on a roster somewhere. I think he's a solid player. I gained a lot of respect for TD this season for how he handled himself, even though like his playing time was so unbelievably inconsistent. And at times he had to face maybe unfair benching after really good stretches of basketball.
I'm thinking about TD not being here, and I'm with you, Matt. I'd have him here. I mean, I know I like him.
That's look, Terrence is my guy too. But if that's the worst thing that
no,
happens,
you got a great offseason. I get him A minus.
Yeah, okay.
But the only reason I say this the way I say it is we're going through this list, top 25 games, and we're 4 games in.
I know where you're going. Yeah,
like 3 of the 4 games, like Terrence has had some big moments, and I think we forget about that sometimes because he did have 4 or 5 games straight where he wouldn't play. There was some crucial times when they were looking for defense. They were looking for a shot off the bench, and he came through. So I don't know if he's as good or better or worse than Chris Duarte or anything. I don't know. But I do, like you said, Matt, I do know he was able to thrive in the culture and the system and the situation that he was in. And there's a level of comfort with that for me. And I'm hesitant to just let it go. But I do think he is gone. I mean, damn, they already gave his number to Duarte.
Well, he's gone. He's not here.
It's kind of a brutal way to sum it up too, but I think for championship teams, Terrence Davis is the type of solid player that you quietly upgrade, and you look back on when you're looking at rosters from season to season for a team that goes from early playoff exit to championship. You see, oh, what changed? Oh, they replaced Terrence Davis with this guy. Like, and that's not to say that Terrence Davis isn't capable of being a contributor on a good, solid winning team. I think he absolutely could have been. But again, if Duarte is a defensive upgrade while still being a shooter and someone who spaces the floor, and it's not a colossal drop off from what Terrence Davis was giving you at any given time. Now, I don't know if Duarte is going to take an opportunity on national television and drop 30 inside the Golden One Center. If he does, that'd be great. But I think the Kings feel that Duarte is a little more reliable as a defender, and that might be the decision right there.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. What's the best move the Kings have made?
It's bringing Domantas Sabonis back, and it's not close. Like, I think if Domantas Sabonis is a little more underwhelming because it's not new. He's just staying here. Like, retaining talent is always less exciting than getting new talent, even if that new talent isn't as good as the talent you retained. But if you take, like, the way I looked at it is, to me, Sabonis checks all three timetable boxes. He checks the past box. And what I mean by that is we can now completely put all fears from the Tyrese Halliburton trade to bed, right? It's over. It's done with. The fear was losing Sabonis and trading Tyrese Halliburton for nothing. That's over with. That's done. Even if Tyrese goes on to have a phenomenal season and career in Indiana, it's over with. It's put to bed. The present is you just secured an all-NBA player, an all-star center, one of the top 3 centers in the league, even if he's coming off of a bad playoff series or a struggling playoff series with the Golden State Warriors. That doesn't define who he is as a player, and he's the foundation of your team. You just secured that. They willingly chose to stay in Sacramento without even testing their market value and seeing what else they could get out there from other potential contenders. That's the present. And then the future is, like we talked about earlier, you now have contractual control over your entire starting lineup. You have a team here now that you believe can develop into a championship core and remain a championship core. It's not just about opening that championship window. It's about being in that window for multiple years and trying to turn yourself into what ended up becoming like the Golden State Warriors dynasty, right? That's one half of it. And the other half of it is, like we just talked about earlier, because you did this, you've set the table up for being able to bring back Malik Monk and make moves going forward and set yourself up financially for Keegan Murray down the road. So it checks all 3 boxes for me. Like, if you had told me 2 years ago that the Kings would be in a position to get an all-NBA player to willingly re-sign here without even testing the market, we would be celebrating that way more than people are today because it's just not fresh, right?
I love the re-signing of Domantas Sabonis. Like I said, we talk about being here, being in Sacramento, and understanding the weight that carries and the significance of getting Domas to commit to playing here. That's another aspect of it all that I don't think, unless you're here, you really understand the significance of. Not to mention the fact that he is an all-NBA player. He is a guy that finished 7th in MVP voting, and you're able to lock him up and get him for the next 4 or 5 years. Absolutely, that's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. I love the move. I gave him an A-. I gave Monty McNair an A-. I thought he did a really good job this offseason. Even though it wasn't splashy or wasn't somebody new, he maintained this roster the way they were last year, successful for the most part. And yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
I think A- or A is an appropriate grade. I just said it was as near perfect of an offseason as he could have given the circumstances, unless like they're finding a way to trade for Dame Lillard or Bradley Beal or whatever without giving up their core of Fox and Sabonis and Keegan Murray, which was never going to happen. Like, that's the only way to have an A+ offseason. And even then, there's a significant element of risk to that. I don't know if an A+ offseason is really possible for what the Kings are trying to accomplish and what Monty McNair is doing and staying true to his maintaining flexibility while building a core and keeping a core together. He checked all the boxes, and he got a EuroLeague MVP to, I know some people took this as a negative, like, job not finished for Sasha Vezenkov, and he convinced him to walk away from a dream of his, which is winning a EuroLeague championship, and join the Sacramento Kings right now. I'm sure $6 million helped that argument a little bit, or $6 million per year helped that argument a little bit. But like, Monty is doing what he needs to do. He brought back the players he needed to bring back. I think even if you're not happy with the Harrison Barnes return, you have to be happy with the number or the dollar sign attached to Harrison Barnes compared to what Kyle Kuzma and Jeremy Grant and all these other guys got. Like, Monty has hit, if not home runs, doubles and singles all offseason long. And that might be what you need to do with a core that was, I mean, the next step for the Kings was always going to be where this core could take you. You retain that core. Let them take you there. Set them up to take you there.
Yeah.
Great stuff from Matt George, as always. You can subscribe to the Locked On Kings podcast wherever you get podcasts from. Of course, you can subscribe on YouTube. There's a unique quirk, though, when you search Locked On Kings on YouTube. If we all want to collectively do it in a different browser, you will search and see, for reasons known to no one, a smiling face of RG3 appears. Now, I don't know if RG3 is a past guest of the Locked On Kings podcast. I don't know if you're out of a job, but search Locked On Kings on YouTube and you will get a very happy RG3.
Well, the cat's out of the bag. My new co-host was spoiled, so I don't get to do any eye emoji tweets. But yeah, Matt George and RG3 breaking down Kings basketball every single night.
Step your tweet game up, buddy. Step your tweet game up. Again, great stuff from our friend Matt George. Lots of stuff here available on the Locked On Kings podcast. YouTube's a great way to do it. Podcasts are a great way to do it.